In this video, we're going to talk about numeric field expressions in Unity. And that sounds pretty complex, but it's actually really simple. So let's just select a cube here, and this can be any object. These boxes here are called fields. All this means is we can use math expressions in these boxes. For example, if we put our cube at 2.25, and say we wanted to add 1.25 to this, instead of having to constantly do the math in our head, we can do it right in this box, so 1.25. Now our box is going to move to 3.5. As simple as this can be very handy and save you a lot of time. You can do any formula, so you can multiply it by 2, you can do division. So you have all the options here, and you can combine multiple. So say we wanted to do plus 5 times 2. We can do it all in one line. So basically any normal math formula. Now a lot of the time you're not going to enter a complex formula into this little box. But what it does allow you to do is use that for making editor scripts. That automatically does it in your editor. And we're not going to cover that in this video, that's much more advanced. But the simple stuff like adding multiplication, division, that's used daily in game dev. And it makes it a lot easier because then you don't have to calculate values. So for instance, say we want to have this cube at 1.223 position. And we want to space every single one of them that far apart. We can just select this, copy it, and let's add the same. Now if I duplicate this cube, do the same thing here. So I'll do plus, and then paste in the 1.223. Same, now I can duplicate it again. Do the same thing here. Now what if we have these three objects here and we want to move all of them a certain amount over? We can select all of them. And then in here you can see the position is lined out because each one has a different x. But we can do plus equals 5 and it shifts all of them over. And then we could do the same thing, say times equals 2, and it moves them over double the spacing that they are. And then we can always do divide equals 2. So we have all of those options there. Now there's a couple simple ones I want to show you here. So I'm actually going to delete these two cubes. I'm going to put this one back at the origin, and I'm going to duplicate this a bunch of times. Okay, so I have 10 different cubes here. Now if I select all of them, okay, and now we can use capital L for linear, and this is going to move each object in a linear ramp between each other. So we just put brackets, we need a start value, so I'm going to start it at 0, comma, and then 10. And then a bracket, so that's the formula, and then you can see it already did it even before I pressed enter. So now we spaced all of these evenly between 0 and 10 units. And if we wanted to do it even more, we could do L bracket, say minus 10, comma 10. And now we can see if we select our first cube, it's at 10, and our last one is at negative 10. So that's an easy way to move them different spacing. So say if you were building a fence or you had some object you wanted placed a certain distance away from each other, this is much easier to do than doing it manually for every single object or doing it via code. Now let's select them again. Now we also have random, so if we select them again, do capital R, bracket, and same thing, we need a start value and an end. So I'm going to do the same thing, minus 10, comma 10. And now you can see it moves each of them a random amount in between that range. Now you can combine multiple formulas into one line. As I mentioned, that's pretty complex for a little box here, but when you're doing an editor script, that can be very handy to make a tool in your game. So I'm just going to show the manual page for this here. This is where I got everything from, and this will be linked below in the description. They have some more complex examples here. So in this case here, how to create a circle. So you can see this formula here. So this is applied to the x, so let's go do that for ours. So I apply that to the x. And now this formula for the z, so it's using cosine and sine. And now we have our objects all in a circle. Now you can see with those formulas, if you pre-program that into an editor script, you could very easily make a button or something else in your editor that when you click it, all the selected objects move to a circle. There's lots of options you can use this to help improve your workflow. So be sure to check out that Unity document below and read the manual, and you can find many other uses.